If the sheer splendour of the inner sanctums of the stadium were not enough to convince the casual visitor that this is one of the most successful clubs in football, then the famous Ibrox trophy room dispels any notion otherwise. Originally the billiard room, manager Scott Simon introduced the trophy room to Ibrox in 1959, following a visit to Real Madrid's Bernabeu Stadium. Inside is a veritable Aladdin's cave, packed with trophies and gifts from around the globe. Silver cups and salvers, crystal and porcelain vases, and just about every trophy imaginable pack the 6 glass cabinets. Around the room hang pennants from almost every major football club in the world. The commanding portrait of William Struth, presented to the club by the City of Glasgow Council in 1953, dominates the far wall. Struth held the manager's office for 34 years, during which time he led the team to 18 League Championship wins, 10 Scottish Cup triumphs and 2 League Cup victories. Around the portrait is the remarkable collection of championship flags highlighting Rangers' preeminence in Scottish football. No other team has won so many domestic titles. The bicycle, presented to the club by Saint-Étienne, opponents in the European Cup in 1975, is of a model used in the Tour de France that year and symbolic of the French city's association with the famous cycle race. But the room is dominated by the 6 impressive glass cabinets that glisten under the lights. One cabinet holds one of the oldest trophies in the room, a small goblet dated 1876, and strangely not one for success in the football field, but for a half-mile race. The winner's name is inscribed on one side. It reads, Moses McNeill, Rangers Football Club. The trophy sits among a multitude of cups won by our youth sides over the years, showing that the senior side has no monopoly of success at Ibrox. Twice in seasons 92-93 and 93-94, he topped the European goal-scoring charts, winning the coveted Golden Boot on each occasion. One is displayed within the room. When he left Rangers in 1998, McCoist had broken just about every goal-scoring record at Ibrox. In 581 games, he found the net 355 times. While silver characterises the cabinets at the far side of the room, the cases at the opposite end offer contrast, with crystal and porcelain intermingled with an assortment of pieces. In one of the cabinets, the dazzling collection of crystal sends reflections all around the room. Gifts from some of football's biggest clubs, whom we faced in over 40 years of European competition. Beside them is the onyx ashtray gifted by Winston Churchill after the club hosted a political rally in 1949. And in the corner is a small vase presented by Polish side Górnik Zabrze in 1970. Defeat saw the end of manager Davy White's tenure in the Ibrox hot seat. He was replaced by Willie Waddle, an Ibrox legend who went on to lead the club to European success. Another case contains a fascinating collection of gifts received in our European journeys. In the centre of the cabinet stands the jewel-encrusted lantern gifted by Turkish side Ankara Gucu following our meeting in 1973. The Majolica vase presented by Monaco. And the Portuguese Caravelle, a memento of the club's meeting with Benfica in 1948. On the way to Lisbon, Willie Waddle found romance, later marrying Hilda, one of the attendants on the flight that carried the team to Portugal. More recent additions to the cabinet include the Black Knight from Leeds United, rekindling memories of our titanic Battle of Britain clash in 1993. The Golden Grasshopper, received from FC Zurich. And the Crystal Block from French side Auxerre. But of all the pieces in the cabinet, the most significant is the small ceramic pot that sits in the front of the case, the famous loving cup. One of originally only 30 cast, the cup was made to commemorate the coronation of King George VI in 1937, and the mould was then broken. The cups were presented to the member clubs of the English First Division, the FA and some other worthies. Following the Holditch Colliery disaster, Rangers were invited to take part in a testimonial match against Stoke City for the dependents. The match raised a substantial amount, and the Stoke City president, who originally commissioned the cups, reflected the gratitude of his community by giving the Potteries Club's own loving cup to Rangers. They asked that we toast the monarch and football each new year, and this ceremony has been performed faithfully ever since. One of the centre cabinets within the room contains gifts received during the club's centenary celebrations. A silver salver from our greatest rival, Celtic. The gun and the cockroach from Arsenal and Tottenham. There are also testimonial gifts from some of the finest players to wear the blue jersey. Ally McCoist, Tom Forsyth and Sandy Jardine. Of all the cabinets in the trophy room, the most impressive and the one that commands the most attention is the central case that holds the fruits of Rangers' greatest triumphs. It is here that the club proudly displays the silverware won at the end of a long, hard season, the rewards for a season's efforts. Many consider that the case is incomplete without the treble, the Scottish Cup, Premier League Championship Trophy and League Cup. The three major domestic honours have been united in this case more than a few times. In fact, Rangers have secured the treble more often than any other side in Scotland. While some of these trophies come and go, many of the cups in the cabinet are on permanent display, such as the Victory Cup, which replaced the Scottish Cup in a one-off competition in 1946. Then there are the two Skol Cups, the sponsors' trophies that accompanied the League Cup. Each were won on 3 consecutive occasions by Rangers and presented to the club in commemoration of these achievements. There are also the 3 crystal vases presented to Rangers by the sponsors of the Premier League Championship in the mid-90s. 3 championships in the historic sequence of 9 between 1989 and 1997, and commemorated in this fine trophy from the Lord Provost of Glasgow. Then there is the Volvo Jet Fighter Trophy, won by Rangers in Sweden. The most interesting feature is not so much in the trophy's distinctive shape, but in the fact that it is pure titanium, wrought from the turbine blade of a jet engine. In pure metalliferous terms, it is the most valuable trophy in the room. Beside it sits the fabulous collection of medals won by the great Bob MacPhail, 36 in all. The legendary inside forward joined Rangers in 1927, and in 15 years at the club, he won 26 of these medals, including 9 league championships and 6 Scottish Cups. The case contains medals from just about every level in Scottish football, from schoolboy to senior grades. But if there is a jewel in this wonderful crown, it is the miniature replica of the European Cup Winners' Cup won by Rangers in 1972. Behind the case, the pennants of the great clubs dispatched by Rangers on their way to that first European success hang. Rennes, Sporting Lisbon, Torino, Bayern Munich, and finally Moscow Dynamo were defeated. It was the culmination of a great European adventure. Just about every side in the continent has come to face Rangers. Milan, Juventus, Ajax, Dortmund. Most have left Ibrox vanquished, but with an enhanced respect for this great club.